Man was a hopeful idiot who got rejected by his crush and became an outcast who hates everyone. However, when he's forced to join a club with the hottest girl in school, she teaches him how to rizz up girls, but he rizzes her up instead. After the humiliating heartbreak from his crush, Hachiman decided that having a social life was meaningless. He even expresses that he wants everyone in his class to take a one-way trip to heaven in one of his school essays. When his homeroom teacher, named Shizuka, reads it, she almost punches him in the face before dragging him to a club room to see a chick named Yukino, the smartest and hottest girl in school, who usually keeps to herself and doesn't care for the usual gossip. There, Shizuka asks Yukino to look past Hachiman's hideous face and teach him how to have a social life again. After she leaves, Hachiman asks Yukino what the club is about, and she says it's a volunteer club made to help pathetic loners like him. This pisses Hachiman off, so he starts arguing with her, until Shizuka returns and decides to have a contest where they both help people in the club, and the person with the most successes gets to give one command to the loser. Upon hearing this, Hachiman starts thinking of all the freaky things he can do to her, which gives Yukino the creeps. She almost wants to back out of the challenge, but when Shizuka calls her a wimp for being scared of Hachiman, she agrees to the contests. The next day, Hachiman returns to the club room, and Yukino asks if he likes being bullied by a baddie like her. But he tells her to stop being delusional, as he doesn't even find her attractive. He then asks her why she doesn't have any friends, and Yukino says that being the hot girl in school is a lot harder than he thinks. She further explains how people always find ways to come after her or make her life difficult because her beauty makes them feel insecure. This is why she prefers being alone most of the time. But after listening to this, Hachiman thinks they are similar because he also prefers being alone. For a moment, he goes soft and offers to be her first real friend, but she immediately declines. The next moment, a girl named Yui walks in and says Shizuka sent her to get help from them. Yukino recognizes her and offers to help, so Yui sits beside her. And when Hachiman starts yapping again, Yui asks why he acts like a pathetic snub in class. This triggers Hachiman, so he calls her a freak, but Yui says she is actually still a virgin. She immediately tries to take it back, but Yukino says it's nothing to be ashamed of, which only makes her feel worse. Then, Yui takes them to the baking class and says she needs to learn how to bake cookies for a guy she likes. After her first attempt goes horribly wrong, she admits to having no talent, but Yukino tells her to stop talking down on herself and trying to fit in all the time because she just looks dumb. Instead of getting upset, Yui says she has always admired the way Yukino speaks her mind at all times. This makes Hachiman a bit more interested, so he tells them to come back in a couple of minutes so he can make the best cookies they have ever tasted. Minutes later, the girls return, and after taking bites, they almost throw up. So Hachiman apologizes and tries to throw it away. However, when they admit that it's not that bad, he says this is actually the cookies Yui made earlier. He then explains that she doesn't need to keep stressing over the taste because guys fall in love with the effort a baddie makes for them more than the actual gift. Later that week, he is back in the clubroom with Yukino, who then says his methods make hard work seem meaningless. After he reminds Yukino that hard work doesn't always lead to success, Yui shows up to thank Yukino for all the help. While they talk, Hachiman feels like a third wheel and quietly slips out, but Yui stops him because she also made cookies to thank him for his help as well. In class the next day, Hachiman watches as the cliché bully group terrorizes a bunch of nerds. This reminds him of why he hates making friends, so he transfers his thoughts to a new essay about bears. Later that day, Shizuka calls him to her office and asks him to explain why he wrote about his obsession with bears instead of the actual assignment his biology teacher asked for. Once again, Hachiman defends his work, saying that it's his way of describing the bad sides of being a groupie like other animals. As always, Shizuka tells him to keep his miserable life choices out of school work, but then he says she should understand more than anybody, since she is also a loner. She responds with a punch that almost blows his spine out and asks how the issue with Yui was resolved. The one who sent the email. Since they didn't respond, she asked them in person to help her spice up the festival. However, as they all introduce themselves, she forgets Hachiman's name. But Yukino tells her not to worry about it since no one really cares about him. Surprisingly, she promises to remember his name because of all the hard work he put in during the other festival. With that out of the way, she says they just have to come up with a new idea for the main boys and girls event, because no one would have taken a survey from him. After they take a look at all the answers, Yui gets frustrated and says they should have used someone with a little experience in marriage situations. Yukino then says she might know someone who used to take care of useless men in what might look like a marriage, and Hachiman gets excited because this chick might be his dream girl. Minutes later, Yukino returns with Komachi, the perfect test subject who takes care of her useless older brother, Hachiman. She also takes a look at the surveys, but unlike them, she says the main problem is that everyone lacks a little of what she calls wife points. She then suggests focusing the project on teaching ladies to become better wives. For starters, she moves them to another class where the girls have to prove their worth by making home